Hey guys, I'm going to do a video real quick. This one's going to be my picks for who I think will be the champions in the UFC by the end of 2023. And we're going to start with the guys that I think who are champions right now, who will probably keep the belt throughout the year. And in concern to those, we're going to start by going from lightest to heaviest. But we'll start with the women. Starting off with the women's strawweight division, and I'm going to be honest, I feel like all the women in the UFC who are champions at the moment, Zhang Weili, Valentina Shevchenko, Amanda Nunes, I feel like they're all going to keep their belts throughout the next year. I mean, Zhang Weili will always have to worry about possibly fighting Rose for a third time, but I feel that she can definitely learn enough to beat her if they do fight a third time. And from what we've seen, we've definitely watched her improve over time. But I think she does have the potential to beat Rose. And I feel like if they fight again in 2023, she will do it. So now moving on to the women's flyweight division, I'm taking Valentina Shevchenko as the champ by the end of 2023. She's so dominant. Really, I feel like if she fights Amanda Nunes again, she wins. And if you watch that second fight, you can make an argument that she won the second fight too. But looking at the rest of the flyweight division, it's so hard to see any one of those girls beating Valentina, regardless of who it is. I just feel Valentina's far too dominant to lose the belt anytime soon. And I could say the same thing for Amanda Nunes at bantamweight and featherweight. Although I feel like the featherweight belt kind of doesn't need to exist anymore, considering they rarely have fights in the women's featherweight division. And the belt has only been fought for a total of 5 times, and it's existed since 2017. So we're coming on 6 years now, especially considering that the last time the women's featherweight belt was fought for was March 6th, 2021. I mean, what's the point in having a title even exist if it's not going to be defended for over a year and a half? So I think the UFC should either stack up the women's featherweight division or just get rid of it entirely. But as for her bantamweight title, I think she'll probably keep that throughout the year too. And the women's divisions were actually probably the easiest ones for me to make my picks for the ends of 2023 for who's going to be the champs. So we're going to move on to the men's divisions, where I think the current champ will continue to be the champ by the end of 2023. Starting with bantamweight, I feel like Aljamain Sterling really has an advantage over a lot of these other guys. And obviously, there's a few guys that can give Aljo a very tough fight, but really, I feel like it's just Cheeto and Peter that could probably do that to him. We just watched him handle TJ. I feel like Sean's not ready for that. Peter Yan probably won't even get another shot at that belt in 2023, considering he's lost to him twice, although the first fight he was winning. But there's Cheeto Vera. Now, Cheeto Vera can and most likely will give him a very tough fight if that fight happens in 2023, which I think it probably will. But as far as the grappling goes, I feel like Aljo has the advantage there over Cheeto. Now for the striking, that's where Cheeto's going to land most of his damage, and that's where he's going to do the best at. But obviously, Aljo is a lot smarter than that, and I don't think he's going to stay on the feet with Cheeto if that fight happens. He'll most likely look to take him to the ground and control him there. So I'm going to take Aljamain Sterling as the bantamweight champ by the end of 2023. Now moving on to the featherweight division. So I picked Volkanovski as featherweight champ by the end of 2023 because I just see him being too good. All the guys that we've thought he's going to lose to, he's beaten. Max Holloway, Brian Ortega. Everyone was rooting for Korean Zombie to beat him, and he beat Max 3 times. And now he's going to be facing Islam Makhachev for the lightweight belt, but I'll get to that in a second. Volkanovski is number 1 pound for pound right now, and he just definitely seems to be the most complete overall fighter in the UFC right now. And it's hard to see him get beat by anybody aside from Max, and Max isn't going to get a 4th fight with him, I don't think. So I'm going to take Volkanovski as the featherweight champ by the end of 2023. So we're going to skip all the way up to heavyweight because I feel that Francis Ngannou is one of the current champs who will probably hold the belt up until the end of 2023. But I did make a second pick for the heavyweight division just in case if Francis Ngannou really is serious about leaving the UFC. And that second pick is going to be Curtis Blaydes. Now, I know a lot of people don't really like him that much, although I think he's definitely gaining some momentum in terms of his fan base. Curtis Blaydes is a great grappler. We've seen him improve a lot in the striking to the point where he's kind of starting to prefer striking with some of these guys. And I think if Francis isn't in the heavyweight division, Curtis has all the abilities in the world to take the belt. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the weight divisions where I feel we will have a new champion by the end of 2023. Starting with the flyweight division, currently Davison Figueiredo is the champ, but him and Brandon Moreno are definitely going to fight for a 4th time in 2023. And I feel that Brandon Moreno is going to beat him. Brandon is Also, in my opinion, one of the most complete fighters in the UFC. And he's definitely a killer inside of the octagon, despite being probably the nicest guy in the UFC aside from Stephen Thompson. So my pick for the flyweight division champ by the end of 2023 is Brandon Moreno. Now I'm going to save the lightweight division for my last prediction in this video because I feel it's my boldest one yet. So we're going to move on to the welterweight division. Currently the champ is Leon Edwards, but Usman was winning the entire fight against Leon, and Leon landed that head kick. And I know they're definitely going to fight again for a third time in 2023, and I'd be willing to guarantee that Usman wins that fight. As good as Leon is in the striking, he doesn't have the wrestling to combat Usman. And Usman is also one of the most complete fighters all around in the UFC. So I'm taking Usman as the welterweight champ by the end of 2023. And moving on to the middleweight division, currently Alex Pereira is the middleweight champ, but Izzy was winning that fight. And if Izzy hadn't have allowed himself to get stuck up against the cage and had managed to go to decision with Pereira, he would have been given the decision. And Pereira wouldn't be the champ right now. But Pereira did manage to catch him, did manage to finish him, but I know they're going to fight again in 2023, unless Izzy decides to move up again, but I doubt it. And I think Izzy's definitely going to make enough improvements to finally beat Alex Pereira, the one person in his career who's always had his number. So I'm taking Israel Adesanya as the middleweight champ by the end of 2023. So now on to the light heavyweight division. Currently there's no champ, although that fight definitely was not a draw. If Doug Crosby was not there, we would have a champion. It does not matter who it is. But Doug Crosby is, to put it as simply as I can, a dumb fuck. And that's a whole separate video, so I'm going to stay out of it right now. But Yuri should be healthy and able to come back by the end of 2023. And as far as Glover versus Jamal Hill goes, honestly, I kind of feel Jamal can do it. I feel like I might take Jamal Hill in that fight against Glover, but regardless of who wins, whether it's Glover or Jamal Hill, I think Yuri beats both of them. So I feel that whenever Yuri comes back, he's going to reclaim the title. So I'm taking Yuri Prochazka as the light heavyweight champion by the end of 2023. So now to what I would probably consider my boldest prediction in this video, and I'm probably going to get hate for it because for whatever reason, he's not very liked. But for the lightweight division, currently we're getting ready to see Islam fight Volk for the belt. This is definitely going to be Islam's toughest test. And if I'm being honest, I feel Volk beats Islam. But that's not who I'm taking as a lightweight champ by the end of 2023. Because that lightweight belt is definitely going to be defended more than once that year. I'm going to assume at least twice. And I feel that the only person you can look to give a title shot outside of Volkanovski is Dustin Poirier. And I feel that Islam gets beat by Dustin Poirier. Now, I know that Khabib beat Dustin, but Islam is not Khabib. I am not disrespecting Islam. I just don't see that same ability in Islam that I saw in Khabib. And I think Dustin Poirier right now is the best he's ever been. And having faced Khabib already, he kind of is going to know what to look for when fighting Islam. And I think he's going to be ready. And I think he's going to be able to catch him off guard. And I think he finishes Islam. So for the lightweight champion by the end of 2023, I'm going to have to say Dustin Poirier. So those are my picks for who I think will be the champions by the end of 2023. And it looks like that's all I got for y'all. So hit like, subscribe, and all that. I hope y'all had a Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year.